things started happening actually the very first night we stayed in the new home. One of our neighbors, we saw her outside, and she immediately said, "How's the flooding over there?"
Oh no.
It was just one storm one night, and our entire backyard was like a lake. The city that we live in, they knew. I've talked to them. They're like, "Yeah, we've known about that for 20 years.
Wow.
The builder and the inspector knew?
They knew.
He wasn't trying to screw you, but he let you get screwed. And guess who doesn't want to have a reputation for their customers? Realtors.
Buying your first home is the American dream, but for this next caller, it became a nightmare when the flooding started right after purchase and it didn't stop. How do we help this man deal with his water world? Let's find out. Brother, what's going on? What's your legal issue?
My wife and I bought our first home back in December. All of our kids are almost grown. I mean, we've been saving and wanting to buy a home forever. And we finally got to do that. And we got it. It's a new build with a huge yard. And the yard is really the key selling point for us. We have dogs, and it gives them a place to roam. We could have a garden, greenhouse, possibly a pool, above ground or whatever. It doesn't matter. And so just having the new space and the new house was awesome. And then things started happening. It's actually the very first night we stayed in the new home. One of our neighbors, we saw her outside. She waved at us and just welcomed us. And she immediately said, "How's the flooding over there?"
Oh no.
And we had no idea what she was talking about.
She didn't even introduce herself. She just went straight to the flooding. She wasn't like, "Hi, my name's Sue." She was like, "How bad is the flooding?"
Yes, and that was not lost on us either. We thought it was really bizarre.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Okay, so how is the flooding?
It is bad. And so every time it rains, there's a little bit of ponding in the backyard. We didn't know how to deal with that at first. We had no idea it was going to get as bad as we're about to talk about in a minute. So we thought we would just have some dirt hauled in or do something and just raise the grade up in that spot. Well, then sometime in mid-March, we got a real storm. And it wasn't even like, where it rains every day for a week. It was just one storm one night. And our entire backyard, which is almost half an acre, was like a lake. And have you guys seen the pictures? Have you been able to see any of the pictures?
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture right now. It looks like you have a waterfront property.
Yes. And we weren't expecting that. And so the little bit of ponding we were unhappy about already. But we can't do anything with like you said, the waterfront property we have.
No, hold on. Let's just ask real quick. I mean, I'm just talking about, making lemonade out of lemons here. Are you somewhere where it freezes in the winter? Because that looks like a perfectly glassy lake covering edge to edge in your yard.
Yes. Yes. And
are you in the south or the north?
Arkansas.
We're in the northern part of Arkansas.
Okay, got it.
We're in the north of Arkansas.
Part of Arkansas. All right, so ice skating rink is out. Is it deep enough for some largemouth bass, maybe some crappie, bluegill?
So that is possible. I know. So when it's dry, there's nothing out there. When it's flooded like that, we hear frogs like crazy within hours. Like, where did they come from? They weren't here before it rained. Now they're here.
And have you noticed damage to the house? Like, is it getting in? Do you have I'm assuming you don't have a basement if it's Arkansas, right?
That's right. We do not. And so we also realize now, so back up for 1 second. My wife and I were really naive. We've never bought a house before. We used a realtor who we thought was looking out for us. Now we realize we will never use a realtor ever again because none of them are ever looking out for anyone but themselves.
It's not wrong. I don't know.
It's not wrong.
I don't know if I'd say it.
I mean, look, a lot of realtors are out there and they only care about themselves.
Yeah.
Every realtor cares about themselves. But we're going to talk about that issue a little bit more about your realtor, but go ahead.
I know a few nice realtors, and I just want to say, if you're a realtor watching at home, don't forget to like and subscribe. But
not happening now.
A lot of times, they think long term, right? It's not. They built a reputation. They're trying to sell you your next 3 or 4 houses, so they want to make sure your first one is a good experience. But you're right. A lot of realtors are evil. What did this one do that has you so pissed off?
Tell us about how that process went when you were buying the house.
We were actually we had a different realtor, and we didn't feel like that person was helping us out.
Okay.
And so we have an acquaintance of the family who works for a title company, and he recommended a realtor who's well known in the area, someone he works with all the time. And so because of the recommendation, we had absolute trust. And I don't necessarily think this person, the realtor, was out to do us any harm or anything. Sure. I just don't think that he did all the due diligence that he should have done.
He was just doing he wasn't trying to screw you, but he let you get screwed.
Yeah.
Exactly. We also had an inspector come out, which, a normal thing. Most people have an inspector come in and look at the house. And, no one said anything about this. The home is not in the floodplain. But having talked to neighbors since all of that happened, we've lived here for almost 6 months now, or just, a little over 6 months. Everyone around here knew that this area flooded when it rained.
Shit.
There was an empty field here, and every time it was a big rain, it flooded. And a group of the neighbors here actually went to the city and petitioned them to not let them issue permits because they didn't think that was fair. And I've actually talked to the city here about it, and they've known about it. Everybody knew about this issue except for the people that bought these homes,
including the builder and the inspector knew.
They knew. I don't know that the inspector knew. I feel like he should have. The builder knew, and I know that the builder knew, for one, because the city, just again, talking to the neighbors over time, if we knew all this on the front end, we wouldn't have even moved here. But they built these houses way up on they call them houses on mounds. Like, that's a catchphrase that they used before anyone moved in here. We didn't know. If you looked out the backyard before we had the fence put in, it just looks like a vast, huge area of land because there's no fences and no one's yard was connected. Now that we have a fence around it and we've seen it with water, we can tell it's kind of an upside or a bowl shape, and there's just no place for the water to go. We had a landscaper come out and look at it. We've talked to the city. They've come out. It was a known. And so the builder, at one point during the construction, it rained and washed away all the sod. One of my neighbors showed me pictures that he took when that happened, and they just thoroughly resodded it before any potential buyers or anyone could see that. We didn't know any of that happened. We didn't know that you should go around and knock on everyone's door and say, hey, by the way, does it flood when it rains in this property? We assume that the city wouldn't let people build a home unless there was proper drainage in place already. But that's not the case here.
This is a terrible situation that you're going through. Have you talked to an attorney already?
We talked to one attorney, and as a gentleman that I'm friends with at work, he just passed the bar here in Arkansas recently, and he's kind of advised us. The attorney we spoke to, it was so expensive. Like, I don't think we can afford it.
Let's talk about it. What were they saying?
Well, he did give us some advice. He said, before we do anything, we're going to reach out to the builder and just amicably see if they'll come out and fix the issue. I don't think they can. I think it's going to end up costing them more to fix it than for them to just buy the house back from us. But he recommended, fingers crossed, maybe they'll come and do something.
Did you do that?
Side note here, the two houses on the left and right of us, the builder owns and leases them out.
Mm-hmm.
He sold us this one, but he leases the other two.
Okay.
And so the flooding issue affects the two properties he owns. And if we did something to where our yard didn't flood, the water's still going to have to go somewhere. It's probably going to flood those other 2 yards that he owns.
Are those two properties above you? Are they elevated? Are they flooding into you?
On the left side doesn't flood that much. The one on the right side floods worse. And actually, you can see the drainage ditch, whatever you want to call it, where the water comes in off the street. It's actually on their side of the property line, but it floods into our yard.
Okay.
And I think their yard floods worse. The water actually gets up to the house and touches the house. We also have another neighbor across the street who bought one of these same houses from the same builder, and her yard floods. The water comes from a different direction because she's on the other side of the street.
How many properties are in this development that the builder made?
So right here where we live, in this part of the subdivision, there's 4. But if you go around the circle here, it's kind of a big subdivision. There may be 12 total.
Okay.
But I think these are the only ones that flood because of the location. Had we only known, we would have bought one on the other side of the area, or just not bought one at all, but we didn't know.
Okay, so let me ask a couple of questions. One, have you determined where the water is coming from? Is it just rainwater that is in a bowl, or is it runoff coming down? Because you described the left neighbor as having less flooding, you middle, and then the right side is worse. That tends to me to indicate you're clearly on a slope, but is it draining from a river? And I ask that because there's some other solutions if that's maybe the case.
No, it's strictly rainwater or precipitation water. And so sometimes it rains, I mentioned before, and there's a little bit of ponding. Here in this part of Arkansas, we had tornadoes, I think, in May, and that was the worst. Some of the pictures that you may have seen are from that. And we're talking, just a 4-hour rain.
Gotcha.
Other times it might rain all day, and it's not like that. So it's kind of flash flooding from rain, but the majority of it, I think, comes from the street. But we're the lowest spot. So the people that live behind us, their yard will drain into our yard as well.
Have you talked to the builder?
I haven't yet. And the only way I can contact them, I was, reading through the contract and things, is to send them a letter. So my friend that I mentioned passed the bar, he looked over my letter for me. I want to make sure that I'm saying the right things, not saying anything I shouldn't say. And so I'm actually going to send the certified letter to them on Monday.
Okay.
And just, we're normal people. Come out and work with us. We would like to get this fixed.
Are they still building other homes in the neighborhood, or are there other homes that are for sale right now?
I think all the homes have been sold, and this is 100% hearsay. But what I've gathered from talking to other people is their plan is to, every time one of these properties comes up for sale, they want to buy the land, put a house on it, and lease it. I don't have any way of verifying that, but I imagine they're not done building in this area. So the subdivision that we live in is the oldest subdivision in this community. Again, another thing we found out after the fact, and not that even matters, but there's a lot of modular homes in the area, not necessarily trailer homes, but modular homes. And this is a built home that's on a foundation. And so the people in the area did not want any built homes here. They only wanted modular homes.
They wanted to keep it
we
trailers?
didn't know anything about that.
Explain that.
Well, they're not trailer homes, but they're manufactured homes.
Okay. And what do they have against built homes?
I have no idea.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you.
It's one of the weirdest forms of racism I've ever heard.
That's to keep my people out. That's all it is.
Right. So does this builder have just the 12 lots, or you said it's one of the oldest subdivisions, but does the builder have a lot of lots? Is this a really big builder, or is this a small builder?
No one I know has ever heard of this builder. My brother and dad work in construction. We've lived in this area our whole lives, 4 decades or so. They've never heard of him. That brings us to another issue. So a gentleman named is the one who signed off on all of our documents. Is his daughter, and the neighbor I mentioned earlier that lives across the street, she's spoken with an attorney, and I haven't been able to verify this independently, but doesn't even have a contractor's license, even though he's the one that signed off on all the documents. His daughter has the contractor's license. She didn't sign anything.
Wow.
But apparently he had a contractor's license, and he got sued for something else and lost it.
This isn't good. I mean, just what I'm seeing on Google isn't great. Yeah, so they got some bad reviews. We got some questions of whether or not they're properly licensed here. The attorney you talked to that was expensive, you said they were talking about suing. What were they quoting you?
$5,000 retainer, which is, expected. And then $360 an hour, which is kind of expected, somewhere in the ballpark. He said if it came down to it and it went to a jury trial, we're looking at 40 or 50K. And I mean, we just don't have that kind of money.
Did
We're
he
just
tell you
regular
that?
Wolf people?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And did he tell you he thought he would go to a jury trial? Like, what was the strategy? Like, we're getting too much in the weeds there.
He thought that they would likely work with us in one way or another before that. Because if the jury saw those pictures, in his mind, he didn't see how anyone would ever side with the builder.
Yeah.
And then also just knowing a little bit of his history now and different things.
Okay.
He thinks there's fraud, and he thinks we had a case, and he definitely wants our business. But we haven't reached back out yet because I just don't know if we can afford it.
What's your goal here? Do you want to stay? I mean, there's really only a couple options, right?
Yep.
Are you insisting that this is your forever home and you want them to fix it no matter what it costs, or do you want to move to another home with the same builder, so one that you confirm doesn't have flood issues? If you don't think you can trust them and you just don't want to be there, is your goal to move somewhere else and get your money back?
It's kind of twofold. I think I'm leaning more towards moving somewhere else and getting our money back. We love this home and we love this yard, but knowing that even if they fixed it, we're still going to own the houses next to the people that we just sued, or we forced them to do some action because they committed fraud against us. I don't know that we want to live against them or live next to them. I'm afraid they'd poison our dogs or something. And then also the city that we live in, to allow them to do that, because they knew, I've talked to them, they're like, yeah, we've known about that for 20 years. It's not in the floodplain, so we had to issue the permits. I don't really want to live in this city anymore.
Yeah, it's understandable. That's why I kind of ran through those options. Panda, what are you hearing right now? Was there any
Bro, it's time to make some flyers and let the people know. Go old school, dog. I'm not asking for no vibes or nothing. Pass out a little flyer, little pink highlighter ones, bro. Bro, you gotta let people know. You make some noise. You go on Yelp, bro. If you need it in Spanish, I got you. I got a deaf cousin. We'll do all that, bro. I know it's jokes, but you need to promote their evilness, bro. That's terrible, dog. I feel for you. I'm gonna go to Arkansas and just go curse them out in Spanish. I got you, bro. Some of them builders might be my cousins.
We're gonna load up the F-150. We're gonna head down.
I think there's something that I really like the spirit of what Panda's saying here, right? You've got your legal options, which it sounds like you've already started to kind of go through that.
I've got some other ideas there, but you finish.
Yeah, you got some legal options, and we'll talk about legal options. But then you've got non-legal options, right? And so there's a wide range of things there. The things that I'm thinking through right now are how many other people in addition to him.
That's the nail right there.
Like, because it's one thing if you're a victim, and then it's hard because you're looking at paying for an attorney, you're looking at fronting all these costs, and you're fighting a battle by yourself. Are there other properties that have a similar claim, and you guys could join together against the builder? That's the first thing I think I'm interested in. The next thing that I think I'm interested in is, it sounds like you might be in a position looking at this Better Business Review and looking at the size of the builder. They might not have a ton of money or a ton of assets. So how long ago did you purchase this?
December the 4th, 2023. So like 7 months ago.
Wow.
It's brand new, man. He just moved in.
So there's a couple of different ways to go about this. Some of it will require to get it some more information.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, the Arkansas Attorney General has a consumer protection division. So when Panda's saying make noise, that's one of the most important ways to make noise. They're able to talk to licensing divisions. They're able to look up history, right? So the parent company or the affiliated company of your builder has been in business for many decades, and they have a terrible rating, as bad or even worse than the rating of the company you did work with. And so I'm going to guess this isn't the first issue that's come up amongst their other homes, and they'll be able to do a lot. So we'll make sure to send you the information there where you can make a call, start putting some pressure on. But here's the other thing, right, is they've got other assets. You know that they've got at least 2 properties, if not more, around there. If they've been in business for a while, that it doesn't help them to have a bunch of negative reviews online, because it will make it harder for people to decide they're going to trust them and move on. So at the end of the day, going back to them and saying, look, you can buy our silence, which is just a confidentiality, a confidential settlement, and say, I need you to buy this back. Here's the headache. Pay back the fees. This isn't going to be a windfall, right? And start moving on to somewhere else so that you can get that done and get out of there quick. Here's the other part, and this is what Josh just brought up is important. Well, what if the company doesn't have a lot of assets?
Yeah.
This level of fraud can only be done if the owners know about it, the other people know about it. So that means you could be naming these people individually. But again, before you get into lawsuits and all that stuff, it's giving it an opportunity to get resolved, because they should also be interested in making it quiet. Now, I have some other people, though, I think we need to be looking at.
The realtor and the inspector.
This is why we co-host. What were you thinking on that? Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, I wonder if there was a disclosure that the realtor was supposed to help you find that wasn't filled out, or if it was filled out. I was wondering if maybe it said that there wasn't any known issues with flooding, or there. That's the first question that go ahead.
When I met with the attorney a little while ago, he brought that up. And so in the disclosure section of the contract, it literally says no seller disclosure. Those only 3 words, and then there's not a disclosure. So I thought that all that meant was, oh, everything's perfect. We don't need to disclose anything. But the attorney told us that our realtor should have known that was a huge red flag. And if he was looking out for us, he would have mentioned that. And he may not have known what that meant.
That is a specifically weird thing on a new build for a brand new home to say, hey, we're not going to comment onto the quality of it. That's
insane.
Yes,
it's insane.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right. Well, on top of that, Arkansas law has an implied warranty that your home is going to be fit for the purpose. So if you bought the house and it was like, deconstructed ice skating rink in the backyard 7 times a year, then you'd be kind of SOL. But they didn't describe that, and that's a basic thing, right? If it was just, hey, there's a lot of mosquitoes, that's not going to fall under it. This one's actually really bad. And the realtor, though, here's what's crazy. They are always going to be stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Either they didn't know, and they didn't know because they didn't do their job. They didn't look around. They
Incompetent.
didn't ask. They had no experience in this area. They knew nothing, which means they shouldn't have been your realtor because they didn't know what they were doing.
Or
say it.
They knew and they hit it. Dun, dun, dun.
That's it. They
Fraud.
ignored it. They didn't care. They got a text. Someone knew.
Payola.
Boom. That's the leverage you need. And here's the thing. You don't need to file a lawsuit for that to happen. You know what kind of insurance realtors have for fucking up their jobs?
Professional liability insurance.
Professional liability insurance. And guess who doesn't want to have a reputation for fucking over their customers? Realtors. We're adding to the target list here. Did you talk about the inspector yet?
I mentioned
that was my next one. Was
okay, hold on. We're gonna hold on, inspector. Okay, Ferris, what you were about to say something? Go ahead. We're angry here for you. We're angry.
Well, thank you. I'm angry too, so thank you for the support.
We want to leave no stone unturned in this shit show that you're about to bring down.
Even the underwater ones. Yeah. All right, go.
Go ahead.
In hindsight, we could see. So when everything was happening live, I said we trusted the realtor. In hindsight, I could see how he really tried to speed us and rush us through the process. I specifically asked him about if we needed flood insurance because we were. It was offered to us, and he said no, you don't need it. But also, I feel like, and
was that conversation in person? Was that via email or text?
It was in person. And
was anyone else there when you had it? Your wife or anyone?
My wife was there.
Doesn't matter. I'm just wondering. It gets better.
Your testimony is evidence. Your wife's testimony that it happened, that's evidence.
More
and here's the thing:
is
it actually happened, and that's a very important point, right? Because that's their job. They literally are there to protect you, and they let you get hung from the neck. This is terrible.
I just can't imagine saying no, right? Like you gotta, as a lawyer, it's like I would never say no. I would be like, it's something people consider, like that. Like, but I'm not gonna be like, no, you don't.
Look at it.
Like when you get a car.
Yeah, that's a decision between you and your pastor, or you and your doctor. Yeah. But like, holy shit, dude. Yeah, I think the realtor needs to be involved as well.
Yeah.
Wait, so you felt like the realtor was speeding you along? Like, can you give me some examples of where they were like, hurry up and buy this pond?
So a couple of things happened. So I wasn't going to bring up the fence that we've got here, but it's related to all of this and all these people. I feel now that our realtor and the seller's realtor and the seller, everyone was in cahoots together in the title company. So
has that realtor sold other properties with the builder before?
Yes, and the realtor and the title company actually have an office in the same suite. So I'll tell you another crazy story. So there was not going to be a fence here. They weren't going to buy a fence. They weren't going to provide a fence. We're like, well, we can't move here without a fence. So we can get one added to the mortgage, or we can't move here. We have dogs, so we have to have a fence day one. And so they said they would get a fence. And the neighbors on both sides, I mentioned the builder owns those houses and leases them out. They were told they were not going to get a fence. As soon as we paid for the fence, which was like $12,000, which is a ton of money for us, and it is a big fence. So to be fair, it is a huge fence. Sure. But as soon as we paid for it and they put in our fence, they attached the front and back piece to the other houses that the builder owns. I 100% feel that we paid for all of those fences. But come to find out, we found this out later, the person that built the fences, there's two 20-year-old kids, nothing against them. They're the seller's realtor's son.
Oh, this is a monopoly, bro. They guys own this town, bro. You guys
Wow,
are the devil,
wow. This is
I
some
called
this is
that
some mob
realtor's
shit.
office.
Yep.
I called that realtor's office when they attached those fences, and I'm like, hey, you guys sold us a fence for $10,000-$12,000. You can't just add another fence onto it. We have to come to some agreement. We're going to help pay to stain it. If something happens, someone's going to have to help pay the damages. I personally feel like if they want to attach to our fence, since they are the builder that sold us the house, they can pay for half the fence. But I wasn't even going to play hardball there. I was just going to, let's just come to an agreement since y'all want to attach to our fence. And so what happened is I first called our realtor and told him, I called the title company first. I'm sorry. My thoughts are getting ahead of me. I called the title company and said, hey, we need these guys to come back out. We didn't agree to this. And please do not release the escrow for the fence because they need to come out and do some more work. And we want, figure out what's going on here. We have to have some kind of agreement before they attach these other houses to our fence. And within 5 minutes, my realtor called me because their realtor called him. So the title company, who shouldn't be partisan in this at all, called their realtor and told them that I was unhappy. And I didn't know that the person that built the fence was their son at the time. But now it all makes sense. The title company shares an office suite with the seller's realty company, and I think that realty company manages all of their homes, and they're definitely all in cahoots together.
This is the part of the conversation that can sometimes be hard. What you just said is interesting to the story, but is legally irrelevant. And here's why I'm going to tell you. I know this is your first home. Builders, realtors are very close with the builders, and that's okay under the law. The title companies can be very close to the sellers, to one of the parties. They have independent duties to a certain extent. So I just want to say that that's probably not going to move the needle a ton, but it's very important for the narrative. What we
I think it's interesting for the fraud analysis. It's not inherently.
But the title company doesn't owe a duty.
I agree. Yeah, we agree there. But they're going to be like, oh, how could we have known? How could we have known this? And it's like, you're so in cahoots that you're seeing the fences get built. You would have the sod was redone, right? Like the odds.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The builder already know. We already have the builder dead to rights on knowing that this was a flooding issue.
Yes.
So like getting down into that, like did the title company know is pretty irrelevant. But I want to focus back on your realtor.
Yes.
Has your realtor sold other homes either with this builder or in this neighborhood?
I don't think he has in this neighborhood. He did. So I'll just say, we paid around $260,000 for this home.
Okay.
I don't know why he told us that, but he's like 5 years ago, this home would have been just $100,000. So I don't know if he's sold homes in this area. I do think he works for a major real estate firm in this area.
Okay.
And he's a vice president. I think this home was, I don't want to say the wrong word, but beneath the level of properties that he's normally selling.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that the class of people he's normally dealing with, they don't really care if they have to buy a fence because it's affordable for them.
Sure.
For us, that was a major expenditure.
This wasn't a big commission for him, and you feel like he didn't take it seriously.
Right. I think he made $6,000 off of us. He bragged about how he made $40,000 off of his last deal. So it's not apples to apples.
So let me tell you, this is a terrible thing, and you are one of thousands, if not tens of thousands, of new homeowners who have achieved the American dream, moving in with their lovely bride to their first new home and got fucked. And what I will tell you is the only silver lining to the fact that this happens a lot is that there's a lot of good lawyers, not like the one you talked to, but there are good lawyers and good non-legal options, so non-law firm options for being able to put pressure here. So beyond the online reviews, which Panda wants, he's literally writing up the hate letters to send. He's here, dude. He's chicken scratching that shit out right now. The Arkansas Attorney General will get you that information as well. We'll put together some of the information that we pulled on the builder that you had mentioned, and then also, we're going to get you some names to some folks in Northwest Arkansas that will be able to help with this particular issue. Because here's the thing. I think there is a good chance that between the pressure you can put on your fucked up realtor and this fraudulent builder, that you're going to have the ability to leverage some good results here. And, it sucks to have to move again, but I'm going to tell you, probably your better bet from a practical standpoint is to get as far away from this builder and this community as you can. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to add one more. I agree with everything Bill said. This is not a podcast where we yell at each other and disagree a lot. We usually are pretty level-headed.
We yell and agree. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, but if you just let me fucking talk.
No.
I'd like to add one. We'll fix that in post. There's one thing I want to add, which is that if you go to a lawyer, okay, and you ask how much to sue this guy, then they're going to come to you with $5,000 retainer, $40,000, $50,000 in fees to go to a jury trial. And that isn't necessarily wrong, right? But if you go to a lawyer and be like, what's your hourly rate? I want to retain you to put some pressure, to do some negotiating here, right? Mm-hmm. If you go and say how much to sue, you're going to get this big number because a lawsuit's a lot of energy. But a good lawyer here shouldn't be thinking, well, let's get this lawsuit started. They should be negotiating, they should be threatening, they should be applying leverage, and they should be able to absorb all these facts, make a phone call, and represent you in a few hours of work. It doesn't need to be, this 2-week or 3-week retainer. So, I think there's a lot of room here for you to be doing some negotiating. You haven't sent your demand letter yet. That demand letter can be pretty spicy. I think there's a lot of pressure that you can put on your realtor who has these $40,000 commissions and a fat professional liability insurance. There's people you can put pressure on. And the fact that you've only been in this place for 6 or 7 months, it might be the easiest thing for them to just let you get out for what you paid for it. That might be a thing that they're thinking of.
Exactly.
That's a very strong possibility. If this was 2 years, but they own the houses on either side of you already, they've already got some type of property management set up, it's not the craziest outcome to think either they're going to be interested in fixing this or they're going to be interested in taking the property back. So I think you got options here, but don't get caught up. There's one thing Panda said I really liked. Don't get caught up thinking you just have to do the legal avenue, right? You can be annoying, you can be public, you can be visible, right? And there's a whole wide range of things that you have here. But yeah, I think the first part is you've been wronged. I want you to know that. We all agree that you've been wronged. I'm sorry this happened, man. This sucks that you're going through this.
Thank you. So we'll get you some more of those resources, Ferris. We really appreciate you calling in. We're gonna help get you in that direction. Do you feel like you got heard and a little bit of clarity about some steps to take here?
I do, and I really appreciate you guys talking with me today and just listening. Man, even just talking and having someone listen is helps out a lot. The advice is even better, but this has been so stressful for us, and we don't know we didn't know what to do. We're just trying different things.
Well, we're glad we could give you some direction. Hang in there. You are in the right, and this is a ridiculous situation. But thanks for calling, Ferris. We'll get you some of that information.
And we'd love to get an update. Reach back out to us later and tell us how it went, okay?
Heck yeah.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a good day, Ferris.
Thanks, Ferris.
Panda, what were your thoughts on that?
Man, honestly, dude, I think you should negotiate first before the whole sue thing, because then they're gonna be like, well, you know what, you already put this on Yelp or you went on social media. No, but if he's a bitch about it and they're like, you know what, you already signed it, you should have got a better realtor. I'm gonna have to get cheeky here. That's when you get the flyers. That's when you do the video. Social media is powerful.
Yeah,
bro, there's nothing wrong. Knock on someone's door. Take 10 paces back, be safe, be visible. My first job, I was 14 years old. I used to pass out flyers for a pager company.
Oh.
I've always been a big boy. Some people don't know me. I might look scary to them. He's a chill, but no.
You look very huggable to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would wear like the goofiest shirts, like on purpose. I'd wear shorts, and back then I was in '98 when I was 14. I used to wear them above the knee. I think, I'm here to sell. Here's what he should do. If this whole legal thing, which at the end of the day, I think that'd be the best option. I just feel, but
doing it
promotion,
legally.
But legally, do it legally.
Yeah, if you can do it legally, do it legally.
You're gonna be a bitch about it. You're gonna use your rights and your voice and shit. No, dude, promotion is big, bro. And like you said, everyone from that inspector. When I heard this, because dude, my inspector, the one we had when we bought our home, he was legit, dude. He goes, man, the reason your guys and our realtor was cool too. He goes, look, at your house is this price because you're 5 miles away from Oak Cliff. I was like, what's Oak Cliff? He goes, ha ha ha. And I was like, wait a minute.
Have you heard of Compton?
Yeah, exactly. And then
8 Mile of Dallas.
100%. Once he started talking to me in Spanish, I said, oh, it's getting real now. We fuck English. And then he just told me it's a rough area.
Yeah.
But you're safe here. It's a good area, but I'm not gonna lie to you. And I was like, I like this motherfucker.
Como say DC, bang bang.
Yeah.
So one thing you said, Panda, that was actually so spot on that I've seen in these cases is you go to the builder, and the builder goes, oh no, here's 14 emails where we told your realtor everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a case that was a commercial real estate case where it turned out that the seller was like, dude, what are you talking about? We've been telling your broker all of this stuff. And they gave us every smoking gun to destroy the realtor, and the realtor had to pay millions of dollars on a big.
So what's the
office
realtor
building.
even doing? They're just not reading their email, or they like what's the scam?
Sometimes they don't read. Sometimes they do read and they mean to mention it. Sometimes they don't understand what it is because they didn't ask someone.
Wow.
But there's a lot of reasons that could occur. That's why it's like, look, you got to understand who your potential targets might be. And sometimes you think, this is pretty often, we get calls where people are like, well, I don't know if that's evidence, or I don't know. I mean, that's the person who helped me. And it's like, they did not help you.
No.
They put you in this situation.
They help themselves. They want that percentage. No, for sure.
And now he's got this rich elitist realtor who didn't even care.
I don't even want to sell this house. I made $40,000
Have
selling.
you seen my new M3? It replaces the Miata I used to
The
have.
Adderall just doesn't hit like it used to. What?
It's
Yeah.
such
Bro,
a
that's
it's such
the
a
major
weird
red flag.
flex when you're selling in Arkansas and it's a community of mostly mobile homes or modular homes. So you're like, you should see the modular homes I usually sell. $1 million mobiles. That's what I'm the $1 million mobile mogul. Actually, they call me the Triple M.
That's hilarious.
I've made
Wait, we're
millions.
supposed to be anonymous here.
Let's talk about this comic I used to open for. No, I'm dead. Used to flex on me. And I was like,
Man, so if you're listening, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe. If you've been dealing with a new home issue or a contract or other situation, leave a comment below, especially if you found in your local area that you had a great resource, someone who helped you, whether it's a law firm or an agency or a resource online. Help other people help themselves. Give some advice. Give some of your own experience. Those comments make a big difference because people are coming here for the resources, some knowledge, some help. So thanks for checking out the Barely Legal Show. We'll see you next time.
If you have a crazy legal story and you want to talk to some lawyers anonymously, for free, call us.
Wait, we're not getting paid?
Nothing at all. I don't know how we're going to pay for it, to be honest.